I am going to do something today that most people in my position will not do. I am going to name them. Not individual women, I would never do that, but the types. The specific, recognizable, dangerous types of Filipinas that I have watched quietly dismantle the lives of kind, generous American men who came to this country looking for something real and deserved far better than what they found. I am Amara. I know this culture from the inside. I grew up here, in a small province, in a traditional family, and I watched from close range what happens when the wrong woman identifies the right target. I worked with expats in my early 20s, and I saw how certain women operate, how they identify a man's emotional needs, how they build the illusion piece by piece, and how they extract everything before the man even understands what has happened. I started talking about this because I watched a 68-year-old American man lose his retirement savings to a woman who used warmth and intimacy as instruments. He was not foolish. He was not weak. He was simply never told what to look for. And I decided that somebody needed to say out loud what Filipinas only whisper in private. So if you are a man over 60 who is dating here or seriously considering it, stay with me. Because what I am about to describe may sound like someone you have already encountered. And if it does, take that recognition seriously. Subscribe right now and keep me close, because protecting you is exactly why I am here. Let us start with the first type. I call her the reformed butterfly. You will recognize her by her story, which is very specific and always arrives early in the relationship. Not so early that it feels calculated, but early enough to feel like trust. She will tell you that she used to work in a bar. She will say it with just the right amount of shame for it to read as courage. She is owning her past, she explains. She has changed. She found her faith again, or reconciled with her family, or emerged from a painful relationship with a much older man who did not treat her well. And meeting you feels different. Meeting you feels like the beginning of something worth having. And you, open-hearted, fair-minded, wanting to believe in the possibility of redemption because you yourself have made mistakes and been given second chances, you receive that story with compassion. You think, who am I to judge her past? She is trusting me with something painful. That kind of vulnerability is rare, and it deserves to be honored. And that response is not your flaw. That response is your decency. The problem is that the decency is being used as a door. Here is what I need you to understand about the reformed butterfly, and I need you to hear this without hearing it as cruelty toward her or toward you. The story is true. She did work in a bar. The shame may be real. She does carry something from that time. The desire for a different life may even be genuine at some level, but the skills she built during those years do not disappear because she changed her address. Reading what a man needs to hear, calibrating her warmth to his specific brand of loneliness, knowing precisely when to be vulnerable and when to pull back just slightly, these are professional competencies that she has been developing for years, and the man she has changed for is not you specifically. You are the current iteration of a pattern she has been running through, with variations and refinements, for as long as she has needed to. The tells accumulate if you know what to look for. She moves very fast emotionally, not in an obvious way, but in the sense that within a short period, she is behaving with the full warmth and devotion of someone in a committed relationship, before you have had a single difficult conversation, before you have navigated one disagreement, before the relationship has been tested by anything at all. She also frames her past in a way that positions you as her salvation, not in words necessarily, in narrative. The story she tells about herself places her recent history as darkness and your arrival as light. And men who have spent years feeling useless, Men who came to this country partly because the West had made them feel like they had nothing left to offer. Those men respond to being someone's rescue like a man in the desert responds to water. She knows that. She is holding the glass intentionally. The physical intimacy also moves faster than your instincts tell you it should, and it is overwhelming in its specificity. She makes you feel wanted in a way that is almost disorienting. She needs you too emotionally overwhelmed to ask the questions you would otherwise be asking. So she keeps the pace fast, the warmth constant, and the story always moving forward until your judgment has been quietly replaced by something else. The second type is more patient. She builds slower, and her patience is what makes her more dangerous. I call her the emergency architect. She may not have a bar background at all. She might be a regular woman, a teacher, a call center agent, a small business owner, who has simply concluded, through observation or experience, that foreign men represent the most stable financial solution to a problem she has been managing for years. And that problem is her family's financial survival. Now, I need to pause here and be precise, because this is where the line between culture and manipulation becomes genuinely important. Family obligation in the Philippines is real. It is deep. A woman who genuinely cares for her parents, who sends part of her salary home every month, who worries about her younger siblings' education, that is not a red flag. That is her culture, her heart, her integrity. Do not let what I am about to tell you make you suspicious of every Filipina who loves her family. That would be a terrible misreading, and it would cost you the real ones. The red flag with the emergency architect is not the family. It is the timing and the escalation. She will date you warmly and appropriately for what feels like a meaningful stretch of time. She is not rushing anything. She is not obviously transactional. She is present, affectionate, attentive to the details of who you are. She asks about your life. She remembers what you tell her. She makes you feel genuinely known, which is one of the rarest and most powerful things one human being can give another. And then, when the emotional investment has accumulated, when you have told your friends back home about her, when you have begun imagining a future that includes her, when the relationship has enough weight that losing it would genuinely cost you, the first emergency arrives. A sick relative, a sudden school fee that appeared without warning, a roof that needs repair after heavy rain. These are all real things that happen in the Philippines, and that is the precise genius of it, because you cannot know, the first time, whether this is an authentic crisis or the opening move of something designed. So you help. And the gratitude she shows you is so warm and so specific that it confirms what you needed confirmed, that you matter, that what you give is not just money but care, and that she feels it as such. Then, the second emergency comes a little sooner than the first. The third one is slightly larger, and each time you hesitate, each time you take a day to think or ask a question, she becomes quietly hurt, not demanding, not aggressive, just wounded. And you, who did not come all this way to wound anyone, fold again. Because her pain is indistinguishable from genuine pain, and your compassion was never the problem. Your compassion is one of the finest things about you. It is simply being used as an instrument against your own interest. The cultural concept underneath this that you need to understand is called utang na loob, the debt of gratitude. It is a genuine pillar of Filipino social life. When someone does something meaningful for you, you carry a sense of obligation to return it. It shapes families and communities in profound ways. But the emergency architect has learned to run it backwards. She creates in you the sense that you owe her something, for choosing you, for tolerating whatever gap exists between you. That debt is manufactured, and then she collects on it, repeatedly, until the ceiling becomes the floor. The third type is the one that men over 60 almost never see coming, because she presents so differently from the women they have been warned about. She is educated, confident. She speaks English beautifully and without effort. She dresses with quiet taste. She does not seem desperate, and she does not seem transactional, and she does not have the obvious markers of someone running a financial strategy. In fact, she positions herself as the alternative to those women. She says things like, and pay close attention to this phrase because it is her signature tell, "I am not like other Filipino girls." She says it with a mix of self-awareness and mild disdain, as though she finds the type I just described as distasteful as you do. She has standards, she implies. She is different. And for a while, sometimes a long while, she seems to mean all of it. I call her the social climber in province clothing. What she wants is not your money directly. What she wants is your world, an American life, a visa, a social identity that elevates her permanently above the women she grew up with. She has been building toward a particular future in her mind since she was young, and that future involves photos of herself in a large kitchen in a nice American neighborhood, sending messages back home that communicate, without saying it directly, that she escaped. You, with your passport, your home, your American life, you are the vehicle. She is not incapable of affection, and she is not performing love exactly. She might even experience something that functions like genuine feeling for you, but it is inseparable from what you represent. It is attached to the destination, not to you as a person. And the tells, once you know them, are surprisingly consistent. She is slightly less interested in your inner life than a woman who loves you would be. She asks about the practical details of your existence back home, your neighborhood, your routines, your retirement arrangements, with a focus that resembles research more than curiosity. She lights up in a specific way when you talk about America that is different from how she lights up when you talk about yourself. She is more excited by your external life than by the interior of your experience. And the subject of where you will live, this becomes a theme earlier than it should in a relationship still finding its shape. Not you visiting more often, her relocating, permanently, with the appropriate paperwork. The immigration process enters the conversation months before any real assessment of compatibility, because for her, it is not a future possibility. It is the actual destination. Everything else is logistics. So what do you do with all of this? You now understand the three types and how they operate. But I want to be careful here, because this kind of information can produce the wrong response in a man who has been lonely for too long. The wrong response is to close, to decide that every warm Filipino woman is running a strategy, that every kindness is calculated. That conclusion is inaccurate and heartbreaking, and I refuse to be the reason you arrive at it. The right response is discernment, calm, practical discernment, not suspicion. For the reformed butterfly, the solution is to slow down deliberately. Tell her, with warmth, that you want to take things at a pace that truly respects her, that she deserves to be known properly and not rushed. A woman who is genuinely healing and interested in something real will receive those words with relief. She will slow down with you, and the relationship will feel more solid for it, not less. A woman who has been running the pattern will experience your slowdown as a threat to her timeline. She will find ways to reintroduce urgency. She will create a reason why moving carefully is somehow a sign that you do not truly care. Trust the discomfort you feel when someone makes patience feel like a punishment. For the emergency architect, Set a clear and kind financial boundary early in the relationship, before the first emergency arrives. You do not have to be harsh about it. You can say, I make it a personal rule not to mix finances into a relationship I am building, because I believe money changes the dynamic between people, and I want to protect what we have. Say it gently, mean it, and then watch what happens. A genuine woman will respect that boundary. She may even find it admirable, a man who protects the relationship from the beginning. She will figure out her family situation the way she always did before you arrived, because she is fully capable of that. An emergency architect will find the boundary inconvenient in a very specific way. She will test it. She will create a situation in which the boundary feels inhumane, in which saying no feels equivalent to saying you do not care. Watch for the moment when a financial limit transforms into evidence of your moral failure, because that transformation is a reveal, not an accusation. For the social climber, ask her about her present life with genuine curiosity, not her plans, not her ambitions, not her vision of the future, her actual life right now. What does she love about living in the Philippines? What would she genuinely miss if she left? What are the things she is most proud of about her life as it currently exists? A woman who has roots here, who has joy here, who has a self not organized around departure, she will have full and warm answers to those questions. She will light up in a way that has nothing to do with you or what you provide. A woman whose internal life is organized around exit will have answers that are mostly complaints, problems, things she cannot wait to leave behind. The Philippines she describes will be a place she is enduring rather than living in. Listen to the difference and trust what you hear. You came to this country for something real. I know that. I can see it in the way men like you show up here. Not arrogant, not entitled, just carefully hopeful in the way that only people who have been disappointed for a long time can be hopeful. A heart that has learned to protect itself and still kept its capacity for openness, that is rare and worth protecting. The genuine Filipino woman, warm, loyal, traditional, capable of a love that is steady and not conditional on your productivity as a resource, she is here. She deserves to meet a man who arrives clear-eyed and ready. Stay with me, subscribe. I am going to make sure you are that man.